It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Cassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
Episode 13 of Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by Oddshark. Check them out at oddshark.com. Kris Abbott from Oddshark will join us a little bit later on in the podcast. It is Dustin Nielson, it is Matt Cassian, and it is special guest host today, Tom Gazzola, in for Joaquin Gage.
I like to call him Handsome Tom.
Oh,
so I mean,
thanks,
Dusty.
Matty.
I know Dusty was Tom. He was a little bit upset before you. I know you went to get some coffee.
Yes.
Because he was like, I am no longer the most handsome member of this group.
Wait a second here. I was the most handsome member of this group?
Well, I mean,
That's incredible.
self-declared.
Matty's a good-looking guy. Look at him. He's very well dressed. He's incorporated a costume.
But I'm no handsome Tom Gazzola.
Well, you look great with this hair today,
You
Tommy.
look phenomenal.
This is my real hair, boys.
Yeah.
Can we get an explanation like on what everyone is?
Yeah, I know. I think that would probably be a good idea. Let's start with you, Cass. We are, for those of you listening to the podcast, maybe on November 1st or 2nd or 3rd or whatever, we're recording this on Halloween. We're on the live stream right now. We are wearing our costumes. Matt Cassian,
mine's.
what do you
I
got,
put in
bud?
the least work. I don't know if you've ever seen The Office, but I went with the 3-hole punch mat.
Which just involves 3 pieces of black paper cut in circle form on the side of your shirt.
Well, I had some meetings this morning, and so I was like, what can I wear to not look like an idiot at these meetings? And then,
You didn't color this. This is printed black.
oh, it's printed. Yeah, I didn't hand color it.
So you just printed off
I printed
black
it
piece of
and
paper.
like cut them out.
It works.
So you wore that to meetings today?
Well, no, I took the circles off for the
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
Yeah,
All
that
right.
was like where I'm like, I can quick change.
But around the office, were you wearing it or no?
Oh, yeah, I put it back on. Our office is actually, you know what? The people go full on.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like I'm terrible compared to everybody else, but everyone else like strategically plans meetings around it.
Yeah.
Like where it's like, there's no meetings today for people.
right.
They just do their paperwork or whatever. And then everyone dresses up. And for me, or it's like if they're going to have a meeting in the office, at least everyone else in the office is wearing a costume. So it's not as weird where it's like, I was going out for coffee with a guy. So I don't
Yeah,
want
it's a
to,
little
it's
bit,
just,
you're right.
yeah.
That's true. That's good. Well, you know, that's what I saw one office online that had like a whole Wayne's World theme. I don't know if you saw that. That was a
that's
great,
That'd be awesome.
great look.
I like that.
All right, Tommy Gazzola, what do you have going on here?
I'm not Jackie Moon.
No, you're not Jackie Moon.
I'm Twiggy Munson, the saddest eyes in the league.
He did have the size.
I'm just broken inside. I'm really going in with this character.
Semi-Pro is so good.
I know.
One year we went, there was 4 of us to the Bears Halloween Howler here in Edmonton, and we went as like the whole crew. I was Jackie Moon, Lieutenant Eric, my co-host. He was Dukes with the $10,000 check.
That's perfect
Oh,
for him.
it was. We had a bear. Dewey was there. Like it was.
Who was Vakitis?
It was. Nobody was Vakitis.
Oh, okay. We went to the
nobody was
Howler
Vakitis.
as this is where this came from like 10 years ago.
Oh, really?
And one of my buddies grew a handlebar mustache and he was Vakitis. Didn't speak a word of English until he met some chicks.
Oh, that's a great night too.
Yeah.
Cass, have you ever dressed up as anybody from Semi-Pro?
I did Jackie Moon one year.
Of course. Everybody has,
Everyone's
right?
done
Like-
that. Yeah, it was Jackie Moon. It would have been right after the movie came out. Like
Yeah.
I went to Party City in the States. And
It was hot. Yeah.
yeah, Party City if you want to sponsor this.
I went to. I've been a Will Ferrell character like 6 different years now. Works out really well. Yeah.
You
It's
guys
good.
are like the same height.
Yeah,
Both
yeah. Not today though.
giants.
Today I am Teen Wolf, and not that Jason Bateman Teen Wolf 2 Teen Wolf, and not the stupid television show Teen Wolf. I am Michael J. Fox Teen Wolf, the original.
Nice.
And I must say, this is just a pretty fun outfit to wear around at home too. Like it just the kids would love this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I would be Daddy, what happened to your hair? I could probably convince a 2 and a 4-year-old that I grew this out. Like I probably could. It wouldn't even be that crazy. Happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween, Hernan in the corner.
Yes, happy Halloween. I got it. I'm loving the costumes. Like Godzilla, you look sharp there, buddy.
I feel sure.
That
My
hair.
sacrifice for you guys.
This is fun. Gager, if you're and actually if you look on the if you look right above Tommy's head in the haunted house in our background on the green screen today, Gager's face is right in there as well, right in the top window of the house. I threw it in there again. As
like
he's in
that.
Mexico, he'll be back.
You know what we need to
on
do?
Monday.
We need to next time you need to not point it out
Oh, and just see if
and
anybody
just
can
see if
find
anyone
it.
finds it or
Oh,
notices.
that's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, next time he's not here, we're not.
Yeah.
Gonna do it. Yeah. That does totally makes sense. All right, Tommy. Well, thanks. Oh, and by the way, Tom Gazzola. I know it was your birthday on Monday, Cass, but Gazzola brought me a present today.
What?
Which is great. Sean Bell, if you're watching this or listening at a later
Belsey.
date, you've never brought presents at all.
This is what you do.
Check this out. A used Saku Koivu t-shirt.
That is
How
awesome.
great is that?
So that was from high school, I think.
Probably.
So your son Marshall, when he's about 7, will be
Yeah.
6'3". He'll fit right into that.
My son will be able to wear this when he's about 6.
Yeah, there you
so
go.
that's great. But yeah, what a nice guy. Thanks,
Hey,
Tommy.
You're welcome.
That's
Classic.
awesome. Cass, did you bring me anything?
No.
That's okay. I wasn't expecting. How'd the rest of your birthday go, by the way?
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good. Low key. Yeah, we went to the rec room and
Did you bowl?
No, we didn't end up bowling. We just, you know what? It was almost like we just ended up hanging out. Or like we didn't even really do much. Like,
Just had some appies?
yeah, it was good. It was fun.
What's your favorite appetizer?
Like all time?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, cause it just
I
all
shouldn't
depends.
put it on you.
No,
That's
it,
great.
it all depends on the restaurant, man. Like,
That's a good point.
I like queso bites. That's become
Queso
it's like
bites? Okay.
slowly like becoming one of my.
have you had like
go-tos.
real queso? Like,
Oh,
have you
yeah.
gone down to the south? Like,
I
like-
lived in Oklahoma City.
Oh yeah,
It
that's
was-
right. I
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about that. Yeah. So you know the real queso.
Yeah.
Like, here's a complaint about Canada. And let's talk about Canada.
I can't take this over seriously.
I can't take it either. But continue.
Canada
Were
has
you in
terrible
Houston?
Tex-Mex.
Were you in Houston at that time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Canada has terrible Tex. Like we went to one of the only like there's good authentic Mexican like Mexican
Legitimate
Mexican
yes.
in Edmonton, but there's no like Tex-Mex that's like anything close to the actual Tex-Mex you get down in the States, like Southern US, like the Americanized version, which is so good. Like queso. Oh.
I have no idea what you guys are
But-
talking about.
and then
I've never
That's,
had
that's
it.
'cause you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna bring in queso one of these days.
What? That'd be
Real queso.
great.
Real queso.
Is this a dip?
I'll make it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you know you go to a game and you get like the yellow cheese dip like with nachos.
Oh, yeah.
It's that except it's the actual version. It's
Real.
what
I was
that is
Is it
pretending to
plastic
be.
like that stuff or no?
No, it's delicious.
And when you go there, like to a restaurant, I remember a place called Chilino's in Bricktown when you were in OKC playing against them. Like as soon as you got to the table, they would bring you freshly made salsa with freshly made nachos and then queso.
What? Just like that?
Yeah.
Just
Like
that
bread at the
as
keg
a
or
starter.
something. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
So good.
That's incredible.
People are
Yeah,
like,
you're
I
missing
don't
out,
want
man.
this. But when you're not from there, you're like, this is amazing.
that may be my favorite.
Yeah.
This is making me hungry. You know what I need? Some delicious Popeyes chicken. One of the presenting sponsors here of Two Guys and a Goalie. All right, let's talk some hockey. If you are going to check us out on the live stream, feel free to comment. Turn and keep tabs on that. Any questions, he can pass them along as well. I think we have to start with the league's leading point scorer right now, Leon Draisaitl, 25 points, 2 more than his teammate and line mate, his go-to guy, and Connor McDavid, tied for the league lead in goals as well. The Oilers got a much-needed win over the Columbus Blue Jackets in the second half of back-to-backs. Let's start with your thoughts on the way Cassian's been playing so far, and we're going to obviously get into a few other topics. Did I say Cassian's
You
been
did.
playing? Sorry, Cass. Let's get your thoughts
Well,
on
he
how
hasn't scored since the
Draisaitl-
Islanders game.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
That's how Cassian's been
Yeah.
playing. I don't even know how he's still on that line.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, Draisaitl, I mean,
He's really good.
Yeah.
And that is why for everyone that's been like, well, why don't you just split those two guys up and Leon can drive a line. I understand he can drive a line, but Leon and McDavid together, they're ridiculous. And McDavid is so good, and he's the best player in the world in my opinion. Draisaitl's not like 1B. He's not the best player in the world, but he's really good, and he is far surpassed. Like I remember when his first year in, I wasn't concerned. I'm like, oh, he's going to be a pretty good player. And then when he got his contract, I'm like, oh, that might be a little high. Like, is he going to be worth it? Is he going to be able to play into that? Like maybe he just had one really good year. Is he going to be able to sustain? And now I'm just like, man, that contract, like to look at Peter Chiarelli and some of the things that we really don't like that he did here in Edmonton, to look at that contract with Leon Draisaitl now, it looks like absolutely golden. What a great contract for a guy that's just a stellar player. And he's like, when he wants to take over a game, he can. And now you have two guys that can do that. So it's pretty fun to watch.
On the post-game show last night, and Cass, I floated this out to you. We got a text saying that Draisaitl is better than McDavid. And I was like, whoa, tap the brakes. But he is ascending. He is completely ascending. At the start of the year, put him in the top 10 players in the league.
yeah.
And I know we're going to get to this, but he's creeping his way up. And it's at all facets of the ice where he's just outstanding. Who's the guy that was out there to start the minute 47 5-on-3 kill?
Yeah,
Not-
it was
not-
him. Yeah,
not just for
yeah.
his-
No, it's true.
Not just for his draws, but he was out there for
Yeah.
a good minute and a bit, which is long for that situation. But when you're stuck on a 5-on-3, what do you do?
Yeah. You know, one thing I have noticed in his game that has improved, even from last year to this year, has been he's taken some of the hope plays out of his game. Like where you just the backhand cross ice no look, like where he
can still hit those.
Oh
once
no,
in a
he
while,
hits
but
them.
yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like he's not like when they're there, he's taking advantage of it, but he's not just for no reason at all. Like again, blind no look cross ice backhand. He's taking advantage of it when it's there, and he's just taking some of the unnecessary risk out of his game, and I think that's really helped him.
Last year he had 50. He shot 21%. And when I was putting together my predictions this year, I had him back at 40 because I didn't think it was sustainable to go 21% again, because that's a ridiculous. When scoring out of 1 out of every 5 shots that you take in the National Hockey League is almost unheard of. This year he's shooting at 24%. It's gone up, which I will once again say that can't really be sustainable. But Kass, how ridiculous is it that he's able to capitalize on some of these chances? And is it because? And I don't want to take anything away from him, but McDavid does put him in some pretty good spots.
Oh, he puts him in great spots. Yeah. He puts him in great spots. So when you think, like, you look at the one goal yesterday when it's, he's just kind of camped out there and just has not a completely wide open net, but all he has to do is shoot it and make sure he doesn't hit the goalie. Like, it's a great opportunity from a one-time position where he doesn't have to stick handle it. That makes you're going to make your shooting percentage is going to go way, way up because of that. But he still has to get there. He still has to be in that position. He still has to get the shot off, and that's what he's been doing. And you look at some of the goals too. They're not all like that. Like, he has some pretty nice, let's call them snipes.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's got a great shot. Is he ascending to, or is this combo ascending to Gretzky Curry? I know what they did was magic, but is that a combination where you go, no, you just leave it? You know what I mean? It's starting to get there, because this year alone, every morning when I go on NHL media website and they give you all these obscure stats, like they're knocking out or tying records set by the 80s Oilers. Like Neil and Draisaitl.
Saw that one today, yeah.
Right? They combined for 23 goals. The last time the Oilers had that, or teams in general had that, was years ago. And it's like we're seeing 83, 84, 85. Connor McDavid, first Oiler to do this since Gretzky did it, Messier did it. Like, are they getting to that status?
I guess it's the natural comparison because they were the Oilers,
right.
But I've always just kind of looked at them more as a Malkin Crosby comparison, because Malkin and Crosby were two centers who would play together when the team really needed them, but not very often. Whereas McDavid and Draisaitl play together a lot more often than Crosby and Malkin, I think, ever did. But that's always kind of been the comparison. I think another reason I've always looked at that comparison, as opposed to maybe going back even further, is because, Crosby was the best player in the world. Connor McDavid's the best player in the world.
Right.
And Evgeny Malkin probably deserved more love than he ever got. And Leon Draisaitl, outside of Edmonton, probably deserves more love than he's got. Like, I just think that's such an ideal comparison, which also brings me back around to the Penguins had success with those guys on different lines, which is not a conversation that we need to get too deep into today. But, Kass, what do you think about the Curry-Gretzky thing? Like, I just see it a little bit differently because Curry was a natural winger and he was just meant to be in that spot.
Yeah, I get where you see that, but I just think they're so good together that I understand the comparison. Yeah. So it's like, if I'm picking between the two, I think of Crosby and Malkin as two separate entities, like where it's like they each did have their own line, and yes, they'd get thrown together, but I still think of them as being like an amazing 1-2 punch, like two separate lines, but like which line you match up against. And with McDavid and Draisaitl, it's like, it's not like which line you match up against. It's like, how do you just deal with this line? And that's where I kind of go, I like the Gretzky-Curry combination, or like a comparison a little bit better.
Dusty, just a quick comment on our Facebook page. This comes in from Blake. He says, Draisaitl wouldn't be as good without McDavid.
Well, we're going to get to that a little bit during Keep It and Clip It if we want to save that. Because, I definitely want to come back around to it. I do want to follow up with the Draisaitl discussion, though. Let's get to our Popeye's chicken poll question. And that would be, where do you have Leon Draisaitl ranked among the best players in the National Hockey League? Your options: top 3, top 5, top 10, top 20. Top 20 is a lot, but we wanted to have a fourth option. But Kass, let's start with you. Where would you have him right now?
I mean, I go, he's 10 to 15, so I'm gonna have to say top 10.
Okay.
I don't want to say 20. I would say 20, but he's higher than that. I'd have him between 10 and 15, kind of creeping towards that top 10 mark. However, as we discussed beforehand, before the show, I think he's playing like a top 5 player. Like he probably slides into that 10 to 15 range, but he is playing like he's in the top 5 right now.
Yeah, I don't think that's unfair. I think that's a good way to describe him. Tommy, you said you had him, around top 10 at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, because you're right. He doesn't get a lot of, he does get attention outside of Edmonton, but not maybe the respect, like you said, Dusty, that maybe he deserves. So I had him in the top 10 going into the season, and he's ascending, like I said, into that top 5. And I was kind of curious to see how he would handle this year, if last year was just a blip on the radar, which there was no indications that it was.
But yeah, if he only scored 40 this year, that's still a really good season, right?
Season.
Yeah,
This
it's
is
crazy.
a disappointment. What a terrible season. I scored 40 goals.
Yeah. Like if he was even like 85 to 95 range points wise this year, I'd be like, he followed it up with another solid season. He's legit and he's here to stay. And I think this month indicates that he's going to be like this for a long time.
Hernan, we had the poll question
Yep.
out on Twitter. Do you have the current results of where people are coming out on this one right now?
Yeah, and it's a hot one. 358 votes in. 50% right now leads the way for top 5. Second place is top 3 at 23%. Wow. Top 10 at 22%. Top 20 at 5%.
I think I'm more with Kass. I think he's a top 10 player playing like a top 5 guy right now, which is no disrespect at all. Anyway, but there's so many good players. How many guys do I think are top 5 players who aren't playing like a top 5? Like Kucherov, I think is a top 5 player in the National Hockey League. He's not laying the world on fire this year, but I'm not all of a sudden saying, he's not even a top 20 guy. Like, I think it kind of has to go both ways, right? When you look at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not even talking about like what's happened to Stamkos. Speaking of the Lightning, like, you know what I mean? Kind of same thing. He was the it player for a while.
Scored 60, man.
Yeah. And then now I'm like, he seems like just another guy on that team, even though he's 2 goals away from 400 in his career.
Yeah. I mean, like, how many hockey players are there in the world?
Thousands, hundreds.
I'd say
thousands.
a million,
like 1.5 or something. I think.
Okay.
Like so to say that a guy, he maybe not top 5 in the world, he's in the top 10 in the world. I don't think that's really disrespectful.
No, not at all.
Not at all. It's
but
like,
you know what? Some people look at it that way and go, what? You don't think he's top 5? You're garbage.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That opinion is garbage.
Yeah. Hey, wow. That's one of the meanest things you've ever said.
That is really
mean. God, you put on these 3 little hole punches on your shirt,
That's mean,
and all
Matt.
of a sudden you're a huge a-hole. That's crazy. All right, so we wanted to hit on Leon Draisaitl. A couple other things. We talked about it on Monday's show. Sean Bell was in with us, and that was the Toronto Maple Leafs, because I was talking about being at the game against the Habs on Saturday night. And when Tyson Barrie got hit, Austin Matthews just literally had the worst flyby I've ever seen, did nothing. And then Alexander Ovechkin rolls into Toronto this week and says that this is a team that needs to decide if they want to play for themselves or they want to play for a Stanley Cup. Then he goes out, scores 2 goals, ties the game in the third, wins it in overtime from the one spot that he scored like 30% of his goals from in the National Hockey League. Mike Babcock says sometimes the truth hurts. Kass, what do you think of Ovechkin rolling through Toronto, dropping the mic, and then just making them his bitch? That's basically what happened.
Is it? Like, if it's truth hurts, truth hurts. Like, I understand that Toronto may have used that to galvanize, but I don't even think Ovi was speaking from like a super negative place on that. He's basically being like, yeah, they haven't figured it out yet.
He's been there, right?
Yeah, he's like, how long was Washington a good team that should have been a great team?
Like they were
for decades.
They had like some of the best regular season teams ever.
Right. And they would just lose in the playoffs and lose in the playoffs. And then the switch flipped and they figured it out. And I think that's basically what he's saying. He's saying, like, listen, we've been there. I get it. I had to learn a lot. The team had to learn a lot. Toronto isn't there yet.
Gazzola, what do you think?
Like the Matthews thing when he just did the flyby.
That was bad, right?
That was bad. And listen, you don't need to go all Matt Cassian on them and drop the mitts, but engage. And I think I'm taking this a little bit to the side a bit, but it's kind of indicative. And Maddie, we've talked about this on the pre and post game show. It's like guys now don't even like protect themselves. They don't engage. There used to be an honor system. I'm sure there still is to some extent, but like that's a sign of a guy like step up. I know you're one of the best players in the league, and if you live in Toronto, the second best player in the league. But like stick up for your teammates. You just have to give the guy a bump and then a scrum because they'll see it's Matthews going after whoever hit their guy, and it'll just cause a little melee, and nobody's
And that's
hurt
it.
at the end
Yeah,
of it.
the
Exactly.
linesmen are going to jump in.
But you're showing the other team, like, hey, that's no bueno. We don't let that happen
Mm-hmm.
around here. And the flyby, I was like, well, that was not good.
And we talked about it on Monday. All he had to do was grab Petrie in the chest, and then everybody scrums over, and nothing happens, and everybody goes, the Leafs are really coming together as a group.
Exactly. And it was Petrie, and Jeff Petrie, great guy, but he's not the toughest guy.
No, but
He's
he
a
was
tall,
looking
lanky
for it. He turned around and was like, who's coming at
because
me?
he knew.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. And it's just, to me, it was such an indicator of where we're at in hockey right now. And I was like, wow, like even Jeff Petrie is ready for a skirmish and nothing after blowing up Tyson Barrie with a clean hit, by the way, but still. Like, get in there, muck it up a bit.
Just to follow up with this, Washington being the Leafs before they ended up figuring it out. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, Cass, and I am sitting here in a Teen Wolf costume, so if that's the problem, then don't blame me. But how much do you think having a guy, because they had some really good teams before Tom Wilson came around, but how much do you think having that type of guy on your team may have helped you get to the next level?
It's a glue guy.
Big time glue
It's
guy,
a glue
right?
guy. Like you need.
Because he can play, too.
He can play too. You need someone to shift momentum in a game. They can do it with a hit, or they can score. Like they can do it both ways. You need someone to bring emotion to a game to start a scrum. You have that. The team maybe is frustrated. Intimidation, or just knowing that there's someone that will try to take your head off that may walk that line at some point.
It's like the Leafs needed one of the Kachuk boys.
Yeah.
Like that type of guy. Like,
exactly. Like you think.
Loose screw.
Oh yeah. How good would Matthew Tkachuk fit? Like what he would bring so much value to that Toronto organization. Is like, oh man, he would. I mean, I think they're a good team. They are great players, but it just adds an extra element to the game that I think helps transition teams from being just skill teams to being like they're a skill team, but they're also gonna try to shove it up your where. Like they're not gonna just sit back and take stuff. They're gonna instigate. They're gonna try to drive you nuts. They're gonna try to take your head off, and they're gonna play with a little crazy. And I think that's an important element for teams to have that win. Like again, you look at most teams in the recent years that have won, and most of them have at least one player, even if he's in the bottom six or even if he's on defense in the third pairing, they have a guy that is capable at least of doing that.
Patrick Maroon with the St. Louis Blues.
Patrick Maroon.
Glue guy,
their entire
not at that
defense.
same level, can't get around that well anymore, but he does exactly what you just said.
Ryan Reeves, with the Vegas Golden Knights.
you're
Like
right.
most of the teams that have success have those guys. Tom Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
I like Zach Cassian. I think he has that element.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, for sure he has that
I
element.
think he's kind of, he can be in that category too.
and
just to bring it back home. But
Calgary's got it. They have that. I'm trying to think of Vancouver if they have anyone that really on the defensive side that fills that role.
I guess they brought in Furlan, but
That's what they were trying to accomplish.
That's what they're trying to accomplish
right?
with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Ottawa has Tkachuk, but they're not there yet.
They're not there
They're not there
but-
yet as a team, so I'm not too worried about them. Winnipeg is just kind of hard-nosed as a
they kind of
as
had
a team.
Tanev who did a little bit of that, but he left for a big time.
Right,
Yeah.
but you look at guys even like Scheifele as a leader, like he will step up the physical play.
Wheeler too.
Wheeler too.
I
Like
like
they
Eric
have,
Wheeler.
they have guys that step up that physical play. Like they have the ability to win games in different ways and to try to beat you different ways.
It's the Two Guys and a Goalie podcast presented to you by Oddshark, also presented to you by Popeye's legendary Louisiana chicken. And Sport Clips Haircuts. We'll play Keep It or Clip It a little bit later on in the show. We'll track down Kris Abbott from Oddshark here in just a few moments as well. Let's stick with Winnipeg because we were just chatting about them. Dustin Byfuglien now having surgery. He's going to be out a couple months at least. Cass, how do you think that went over in Winnipeg? Probably not good, hey? No? Like you're waiting for a decision. Hey, we've heard from Buff. Oh, what's going on? He's had surgery. He's
had
out at least 2
surgery.
months. And it's an ankle injury for a guy who probably puts a lot of pressure on his ankles.
From
Like,
last year, and you're just kind of like, well, if you knew you needed surgery, why wouldn't you have done that in the summer?
well, you go in the summer, get the LTIR, and then
collect.
it just doesn't make any sense.
And I mean, but I'm sure then you have it in the summer and you can't fish.
Oh, you don't want to do that. So
Big Buff likes being on a boat.
The best time to have ankle surgery is November and December.
Yes.
Basically, get it out of the way and go from there. But man, the Jets are too good a team to be run around by this right now, aren't they? Like that's got to be extremely frustrating for Cheveldayoff. Like I would lose my mind if I was him.
You know what's funny is Duncan Keith talked about this the other day. He told a quick story about the kind of guy Dustin Byfuglien is, kind of an insight into his mind, where he got drafted and he got the call and they're like, hey, drafted by the Chicago Blackhawks. He goes, okay, cool. Thanks. And they're like, oh, we'll be reaching out to you. Rookie camp starts in a week. Okay, cool. Thanks. Then he went and unplugged all the phones in his home because he didn't want to get calls and didn't care. And he was reluctant to go
He didn't want to go to rookie camp. No, because he wanted to be on the boat fishing.
Exactly. And then when he got there, Keith said that there was a bunch of guys just talking to him. They were watching TV. And they're like, do you know Joe Sakic, Steve Yzerman, this and that? And he goes, no, who are they? I don't watch hockey. Like, that just gives you an insight into, like, the type of guy he is. Yeah, he's like, I don't watch hockey. I just play it. I'm not good.
Just play it, use your natural
really
ability,
good at
make
it.
a ton of
You
money.
make a ton of money and go fishing.
I go fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he's always on the boat.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever plays again.
Just to speak to that, I mean, and Keith made me think of it, with Brent Seabrook being out or being healthy scratched a bunch of games in Chicago, do you think Winnipeg would look at that and say, here maybe is someone that's a veteran guy that we could bring in that could possibly bolster our blue line?
That's fair. If it continues, because he was mad he got sat out.
Yeah.
Of course he would, yeah.
And he was, like, visibly upset and didn't hide it that well. So if this relationship, because the bond is obviously strong with the Hawks and Seabrook and what he's done there, but if it continues to fray and he feels put out by the Blackhawks, then at some point I'm sure he goes, yeah, I'll take a trade. I'll go to Winnipeg and they're going to put me in their top 4D. Sure, I'll do it.
I have a Brent Seabrook story. But we'll save it for after Chris Abbott from Odd Shark.
All right.
Yeah, he's waiting. Yeah, I'm surprised he even joined us without his man crush, Joaquin Gage, with us here. Gager is down in Mexico, but Chris Abbott is back from Odd Shark, presenting sponsor of the Two Guys on the Goalie podcast. What a great decision by them to hop on board with all the fun we have. Chris, appreciate the time once again. How are you?
Well, who do you think he's in Mexico with, boys? We're having a great time down there.
I could totally see Gager coming back on Monday and be like, yeah, so I didn't go with my family. I went one-on-one with Chris Abbott, and we had the best time. That would be good. Hey, we're dressed up here on the live stream today. It is Halloween. Are you dressed up at all? Are you wearing a costume right now, Chris?
Not really, man. I'm dressed up as a degenerate gambler. Same thing I'm dressed up as every other day of the year. But
so let me ask you this. What does a degenerate gambler wear? Are you in your sweats still?
Yeah, I do have sweatpants on. I'm working from home today, so I've got a T-shirt that probably is due for a wash and probably need a shave. Yeah, you told me there's a potential video component of this coming from my end, so I've got to work on that. Thursdays are going to be a big day around here.
You know, the most concerning thing is that he sounds exactly how I do when I get home anytime. Straight into a shirt that needs to be washed, sweatpants, and I just don't shave.
You know what would be impressive if he was full suit at home with a tie on.
Just to do a 10-minute radio interview.
Yeah. No, just to be at work in work mode. Yeah, I'd be very impressed with that, Chris.
Yeah, working from home.
Yeah, well, I went with my Thursday suit today, boys. Where are you working out of? Well, the kitchen.
Chris, Leon Draisaitl leads the entire National Hockey League in points right now. If somebody wanted to put a few bucks on him to win the Hart Trophy, what do you think those odds would be like? Just spitball for us. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I haven't seen the Hart Trophy odds lately. They usually put them out just kind of like sporadically through the season. But, I still think you get great value on him because he's always going to, in the eyes of the sports book, he's always going to be number 2 in Edmonton, right? It's always going to be, well, he's doing it because Connor's doing it. But if the year continues to progress the way it is, there's no reason he shouldn't be in that conversation. So if you could find it, I think you'd still get him at like 12 or 15 to 1 for sure at this point. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. How much does the play of Draisaitl hurt McDavid's odds? Or even, not even just the odds perspective, but what do you think about McDavid's case to win the Hart Trophy if Leon Draisaitl's 3rd or 4th in scoring as well?
Yeah, it definitely impacts it, right? Like we've seen that in other sports too, like with the Golden State Warriors, for example. Like who's the MVP on that team? We see it in baseball. There was in baseball last season. Gosh, why is it escaping my mind right now? But there was 2 guys on the same team, kind of just killing it, and it's like, it was JD Martinez and Mookie Betts.
Yeah,
and it's like,
right.
Who do you give the MVP? Who do you give the MVP to? Because they've both been outstanding, and it's like. We just had an election in Canada. It's like the NDP and the Green running in a riding, taking votes away from the Liberal, right? it's kind of on the same thought process as us.
Well, just on that, we don't talk politics here, Kris.
Too soon.
Sorry, Kris. We'll have to talk to you next week.
Yeah, next week.
Talking politics is
You
an
know what?
automatic hang-up.
I should have realized that. I'm a guy from the East Coast, in Alberta. This is trouble right now. Yeah, it's bad.
You guys and your politics. I'm glad things are so great for you, Kris. All right. When you look at some of the hot stars, we were going to talk a little bit about the Pacific Division, so we might as well start that conversation with you right now. The Oilers are first place, but Vancouver's off to a pretty nice start. The Coyotes are off to a nice start. Vegas is Vegas. I think they're probably going to end up winning that division when it's all said and done. Just your thoughts on how that division is starting to sort itself out, and at some point if San Jose will climb back into the mix.
Well, right now, San Jose is one of the worst bets in the league. I was compiling it a little bit earlier, and San Jose is right there with New Jersey, Chicago as some of the worst teams to bet on in the league. They looked like they were coming up out of it a little bit, and then they kind of went back into a funk a little bit. But one of the best indicators of that from the betting odds is to see where these teams fall in Stanley Cup futures. So right now at Bodog, for example, San Jose is 33-1, whereas the other teams in the division, Vancouver 30-1, Vegas 8.5-1, Edmonton 20-1, Calgary 28-1. So they're not completely out of it. I don't think they're going to write San Jose out of any conversation. But if you think they're going to turn it around, it'd be a great plan to get in on them for a futures bet now, whether it be the division or the Stanley Cup or whatever. You think they're going to turn it around? You
know what, boys? If the Sharks got some goaltending, I like them at 33-1. Like that, just from a straight up value perspective, that seems pretty good if they could find some goaltending. Oh yeah, no, I mean, and that's what only for Martin Jones played the best hockey of his life in the playoffs last year. They got as far as they did. It was the story, it was the narrative the entire season. Now I know they just played out east a bit, so everyone was kind of saying, "What's going on with Erik Karlsson?" This and that, but they've got the guys to do it, and they've got a GM who's never been afraid to help make the team better. So yeah, you're absolutely right. And the other thing is, with things so tight as they're going to be in the West all season. You get in the playoffs and anything can happen. I don't think 1 through 8 matters. We certainly saw that in the playoffs last year with the 1 seeds both going out in the first round. So, I mean, from a value perspective, 33-1 is pretty good. It's about as far as they've been. They opened at plus 1,700, which is 17-1. So you're almost getting twice as much on them just a few weeks into the season. As a degenerate gambler like yourself, how much do you ride something like, I think the Islanders had won 7 in a row, or you look at the Red Wings and they were 7-1 before meeting the Edmonton Oilers. So when you see a team streaking one way or the other, how much do you try to hop on board that and ride along with it? And when do you get a sense that it's time to bail? Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I do try to do that. Just hockey, is a sport where the highs do get high and the lows do get low, as much as they say not to do that. So, I rode Edmonton, for example, at the beginning of the season. The Islanders right now are the third most profitable team to bet on in the NHL behind Buffalo and escapes me right now. But they're right up there amongst the teams that you wouldn't think would be the most profitable to be betting on. So, I do try and ride that. Like last year, Chicago had this remarkable streak where the goal total went over in like 27 of 30 games. So you just ride it until it kind of starts to even out to about a 50-50. But if you're getting anything at 60% or better, and you want to run with that, that's always a good plan. Like for example, there's a guy who contributes to OddsShark as well. His name is Harry Gagnon, and he's on a podcast with Cousin Sal. If you guys know him from the Jimmy Kimmel Show, they do a betting podcast every week on the Ringer Network. So he's got a theory, and it's wild, but it's unbelievable how much it's hitting. He says that anytime, any combination of Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa, Pittsburgh, Philly, Columbus, anytime those teams play each other, you bet over the goals total, and it's hit in 7 of the 8 games that those teams have played amongst each other this year. And what do we got? Toronto and Philly this weekend, I think. So that's take the over.
I'm going to look at.
Take the over.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean that's his theory. He's been watching it for a few years, and for whatever reason, it works. So there's no real rhyme or reason to it, but it's been working out. So that's something that we're riding.
And that's the exact reason we have you on this podcast right there, for juicy information like that. Kris, thanks for the time, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers, boys. Hey, I love the costumes. I was just taking a look at it online. I cannot compete. Great job. I love the spirit.
There you go. That is Kris Abbott from Oddshark, oddshark.com, presenting sponsor of the Two Guys and a Goalie podcast. A couple of things there. He did mention New Jersey. What do you guys think of Halsey not liking being booed?
Listen, it came from a good place. The intent was
Yeah.
good, and I understand where he was going with that, but the execution on it was no
Like from
bueno.
his perspective?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like the way he presented it, it was kind of like a backhanded thing towards the fan base. And listen, I understand, like you want the fans to be on your side and all that, but the idea and the intent, I think, came from a good place, and then just the execution was lackluster. And I think Grant Fuhr even tweeted about it today.
He just wants to be traded to Edmonton.
Of course.
That's exactly
He's just
what
trying to get out of there.
Well, the good news is that no fans in Edmonton have ever booed anybody. So
Never.
except Gretzky when he came back with the Kings. Like, it's happened. It's happened. It's a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, we'll see what happens there. Just quickly to follow up on that. I mean, New Jersey is for lack of a better term, a tire fire right now. I think they healthy scratched Gusev, which I'm not sure that's going to go over well for a guy who you traded and then paid some decent money to, who's coming over from the K. Do you think there's any chance Taylor Hall stays there if this team finishes bottom 5? No chance, right?
No, not if they finish bottom 5.
No.
If they had the season we thought that they were going to have, he may have, but no, not if they finish bottom 5.
Man, with them, like I like the moves they made in the offseason, Cass, but they didn't do anything about their goaltending. Like Corey Schneider, I know he's been hurt a lot, but the guy went like a calendar year without a win. Yes, he was out for a while, but how do you expect to win with that? And then who's the backup? Mackenzie Blackwood?
Yeah. I thought he might be okay, but
yeah, but unproven, right? Like it takes time for goalies to get traction. So all these people, and I've got friends that I worked with at Oilers TV that are now doing Devils TV, and they're like, "Hey, keep an eye on our team. We're going to be making a big playoff run here." I'm like, "Yeah, you guys better get a goalie." And here we are.
Well, yeah, because
they have 2 wins.
They brought in Gusev. They traded for PK Subban. They signed
Simmons.
Wayne Simmons. They were hoping it was going to work.
Jack Hughes. I know it. There's.
Oh yeah, Jack Hughes.
You gotta
that's right.
get it acclimated to the NHL from playing in the National Junior Team Development Program and all that, but you need goaltending. And like, look at the Oilers; they have goaltending this year, surprisingly, and they're 9-4-1.
I do find it weird that you take a shot at Corey Schneider, who's a ginger, while you're wearing a ginger wig today.
This is
That's a little
Sandy
disrespectful.
Blonde.
Is that what it is? That's Sandy Blonde. It looks
Yeah.
kind of orangish to me, but
Well, you're the one who picked it out.
yeah, I thought it would look good on you, buddy.
It does look good on me.
Yeah. We don't let real gingers on this show.
Yeah, they have no souls.
There will never be a ginger on the Two Guys and a Goalie podcast. That's a good name for the podcast today.
No
gingers. That's a good one. I like that one. Do you guys want my Brent Seabrook story?
Yes.
Yeah, let's hear
Actually,
it.
it ties into a ginger.
Perfect.
What are the odds of that happening? So I was in Lethbridge. I was covering the Hurricanes when Brent Seabrook played for them. Absolute stud in the Western Hockey League. That was when
Like, are you talking about his looks or play wise?
No, play wise.
Okay.
He wasn't
Thanks
a
for
bad
clarifying.
looking
He's
dude.
a good looking dude too.
Yeah, he wasn't a
He's a
bad
good-looking
looking dude. But wait a second. Hear the rest of my story first. You jerks.
Sorry.
You're gonna have my back on this one, I hope. Anyway, the Hitman
find
had
out.
Getzlaff and Ladd, and Seabrook was great. Fanouf was. It was a great time in the Western Hockey League.
I was there too.
Oh, Cass.
Matt Cassian was there.
Buddy.
Cass.
These
I'm
guys, these
sorry,
great guys.
Cass. Well,
He's so many awesome players.
like I said, it was a good time in the Western Hockey League.
Poor guy.
Did you fight any of those guys? Did you fight Fanouf ever?
Wow. I
In
mean,
junior?
I tried. So, that's another. You know what? Finish your story.
Okay, I'll tell my
Finish your
story first. Okay, so I was covering the team from a radio perspective. I was dating a girl I went to college with. She worked for CTV, and she was covering the team from a television perspective. So she was down there all the time. We weren't living together, but we would hang out together all the time. So she comes home one day and she goes, "Hey, guess who asked me out today?" I was like, "Who asked you out today?" She goes, "Brent Seabrook asked me out today." And I was like, "What? What'd you say?" She said, "I have a boyfriend. And it's a guy who covers the team for radio, so he probably knows you. But I said I couldn't go out with him because I had a boyfriend." And now all I do is I think about her life. And it didn't end well with us. And she probably should have cheated on me with Seabrook. Like, I wouldn't even have cared at that point. But I've always felt bad for her because it did not end well with us. And she had that one time when Seabrook was like, hey, you want to go out? And she said no. because she
What could
apparently
have been?
loved me.
My goodness.
What a sucker, eh?
You're a lovable guy.
And she was a ginger. That's why that tied in nicely. Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's good you didn't end up with that.
You better
Yeah,
off
no,
this way.
you know what? Now that I'm lucky I didn't end up with her. But a fun story nonetheless. Yeah, it was a good one. Now, what was the story you were going to tell?
No, I never fought those guys. I tried to. So Getzlaf, I got traded when I got traded from Vancouver to Kamloops. Emotional time, ready to trade deadline. So I went on. Let's call it a penalty minute bender for the next couple games. So I remember after this, it was like 3 or 4 games. So I'd only played 3 or 4 games, and we had a team meeting because we had actually got absolutely spanked on our Western swing. And that was right. Like I got traded, and then we went on the road. So traded to Kamloops, and we were on a Western swing. So playing in like Calgary, Red Deer, like places where my family and friends are going to come, like immediately. Like this was right after, so it was a really emotional time. And I will never forget Devin Dubnyk sitting in the room after the road trip, and he's being like, you know, man, like I appreciate what you're trying to do, but you just need to you need to calm down. Because I think I had I had a couple, I don't know how many penalty minutes, but I got kicked out of 2 games in a row. The first one was the Calgary game, and we were down like 6-1 or something like that. And so this was me at that point. It's like 6-1. I had like 20 people in the stands, so I'm like, I'm just gonna get kicked out of this hockey game and go sit with my friends in the stands. And I lined up across from we were gonna face off in the offensive zone from Brett Carson. Yeah. And I looked at him and I'm just like, we're fighting. And he just looked at me. He's like, no. I'm like, we're fighting. He's like, no. I'm like, you don't have a choice. And he's like, no. The puck dropped. So I drop my gloves and I grab him and I hold him for a second, just staring at him like fist cocked, just waiting for him to drop his gloves. And he didn't do anything. So I just punched him. Like I gave him in my mind, I was like, I gave him ample warning. Yeah. I was like, we're down like 5 goals. I'm going to start a brawl. Like that was the thought. And so I dropped him. And then I'm just kind of spinning around waiting for someone to get close to me, like where the refs are trying to figure out what the heck is going on.
Quick question. Did Austin Matthews skate just by you?
He skated right by me. I didn't even make eye contact.
He was 3, but yes, he did.
Yeah. But Getzlaf was back, and that was right after they won silver, like at the gold, like they. So, yep. And I remember he had I think it was during, I can't remember if it was during the tournament or just in the Western League, but he got a split chin. Like he had his stitches on his chin, like still had like a thing on his, like a bandage patch or whatever, like covering up his chin. And so my thought was like, he started to kind of come close to me to say something, and I'm like, I'm gonna like split his chin open again. So I grabbed him and I went and I'm like I went to like just grabbed him just as, again because I was in like, I'm just gonna hit anything that moves, I'm gonna punch anything that moves mode. And so I grabbed him and went, and he turned his face, so I hit him like on the side of the cheek, and then I got tackled by all the linesmen, and then I got kicked out.
Man, you're such a nice guy.
And then I got kicked out of the next game too. Yeah, in Red Deer, same sort of thing happened where it was just like we were getting absolutely spanked because Red Deer was really, both those teams were really good. Like the Phaneuf was there, Fraser was there. I think Fraser was in Red Deer.
Yeah,
still.
he was.
Yeah. Some of the Vandermeers were there. Like Calgary had Getzlaf and Ladd.
Scary
like
guys.
Well, I mean, I wasn't so scared of them. They played like a bunch of meatheads. Jim wasn't there.
Played in the Allen Cup last year in the Vandermeers.
Yeah, I mean, Pete wasn't there because Pete's the older one. Pete, I fought like 10 times in the minors. Didn't go so well for old Pete.
No.
Yeah, he was in San Antonio. But I got kicked out of a couple games in a row. Yeah, I tried to.
Man, remember when that team came back from like the 05 World Juniors, and it was Calgary versus Red Deer, and Getzlaf and Ladd fought Fraser and Phaneuf, I think. And they were on the same team, won World Junior Gold. First game back in junior, they dropped their gloves and they went like right off the top.
Did you ever fight Dion?
Do you think
no? Well, I played against him in Bantam, and he never fought because he was like, I'm going to Red Deer. And we're like, yeah, okay, fine. But he blew me up so many times. Our team was so bad, Cass. We were the Edmonton Maple Leafs. We had Mark Fistrick on our team.
Yeah.
We were awful.
No, but I never got to play against you because I think you were still one age older than I was playing against. Yeah. I never did.
I was a bad player on a really bad team.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
And that's why you're here with us.
That's right, and I love it. Look at me now, Mom.
Look at this guy. He's made it. He's made it. All right. Well, we'll wait. We'll place. How much time do we got left? Like 20 minutes? Yeah, we got about 20 minutes. I want to talk about this because we were talking about it. Who was it? Sonny Milano, who went between his legs from like the hash marks against Ben Bishop. And then we saw Svechnikov go lacrosse goal against the Flames just a couple of nights ago. Yeah. Which type of goal impresses you the most? I mean, maybe it's neither of those, but like what type of goal, when you see a guy score a goal in the National Hockey League nowadays, which one makes you go, wow, That's really impressive. And the reason I ask this, I'll answer first. The reason I'll ask this is because the lacrosse goal, it really impresses me. It really does. To get that puck up. I mean, I guess maybe a lot of guys can do that nowadays. Cass, could you pick up that puck right now? Like
not,
you went
not
out
like
right
that.
now?
No. But you
like
have to
that
remember,
one blows my mind.
So guys that do that, a lot of them put because there's different types of waxes that you use on your stick. And different guys like different wax for different things, like for the tape, like to keep water off it, and so you don't get snow or ice build
Wait,
up
are you
on
going
it.
to tell me they're cheating?
No, it's not cheating.
Oh, okay.
There's just because there's pluses and minuses to the different types. Like you have really like almost like candle wax or like snowboard, like really hard. It's like a hard wax that just you get no ice, no buildup, but the puck's going to spin differently off your stick. And then you have it's called sex wax. That's what guys call it. That's what, and it's like a really like super sticky tacky. And that's like if you put a good coating of that on, you can just take the puck and you just tap it on there and it just sticks.
It's that crazy, eh?
Yeah, and so there's a lot of guys
that are like
that just absolutely coat it up, and they'll put a new coat, like every period they'll put new coated new
Layer
new layer of
yeah.
tape, and then a new coat of the wax on there. And so those guys that pick those up, now not all of them do it, and there's still something like to when you're cupping your hands, and there's part of it that depends on the type of curve you're using as well for guys to be able to do that, to actually get underneath it and pick it up. That being said, to do it at full speed while there's pressure is still, it's pretty awesome. Like,
it's pretty
the
crazy.
wax helps. I couldn't do it just because of I wasn't good enough, and I didn't use the sticky wax. I didn't like it. Maybe I should have. Maybe I would have been better.
Oh, man, you would have been sniping like crazy.
You would have
if
got
used
that
wax.
hat trick goal against Carey Price.
Right,
You would have for sure.
Stupid post.
So between the legs or behind the net, which one do you? Because between the legs when it get done usually at a pretty high pace. Remember Barkov?
The between
was
the
a couple
between
years
the
ago.
legs.
He had a guy like hanging off his back, and he did.
Yeah, the between the legs I think impresses me a little bit more because it's usually, especially from distance, because you're still like the pick up the puck behind the net. Usually you have a little bit of room, you have a little bit of help. Sometimes the puck's on edge and it's a little easier to do it. The between the legs at full speed from distance, to me that's more impressive. They're both really impressive.
Amazing goal.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you got, Tom? What do you think?
I like the Sonny Milano one more because we've seen that it's a cheeky goal. The Mike Leg scoop it and put it in, and Cass is right. Like you can just cup it if you got a fresh coat of wax on your freshly taped stick. You can scoop it up like that. He did it. He had pressure on him though, which was the impressive part about it. But I always have this appreciation for really pretty passing with a beautiful finish, like a bar down or like a tuck between the leg. Like I love when it incorporates another player or two.
So those are the ones that you.
Those are the ones where I'm like,
okay, we were
standing
going
out. But
right to that.
between those two, I'd go with the Milano one.
I mean, if we're not, I thought we meant like kind of, let's call them trick plays. Like I still, when you have a beautiful tic-tac-toe and there's some sauce thrown in.
Yeah,
like,
oh my God.
When you have a tic-tac-toe and like the last pass is like you have to go up and over like a stick in a short distance.
Yeah.
Like not the long ones. For like long sauces, everybody does it all the time, really easy, especially in the National Hockey League. But it's like when you don't have very much room and you need to get that sucker up like 2 feet and down and sit it flat. Like
soft hands, eh?
Soft hands. I mean, you even look at the Leon Draisaitl goal here in Edmonton the other day, and I think it was Zach Cassian had a little sauce to that.
Right.
Like where it's a tight sauce, like to do that at full speed within a tic-tac-toe, like puck on your stick, off your stick, and just the whoop whoop up and down. That to me, like when those work, those are fun.
Yeah, especially considering how good guys have hand-eye coordination now in the league. Like they can pick pucks up out of the air like that, and to get it past them and then you score. I'm just like, that's magnificent.
I think it's Strudwick. Jason Strudwick has a wonderful story about Nick Lidstrom and him trying to dump the puck.
Yeah, and he bats it down.
He bats it down like 4 times in a row. Yeah, guys are like that.
All right, let's play Keep It or Clip It for Sport Clip Haircuts. Just to describe it to Tommy. And I don't know if have you ever watched or listened to the podcast, Tom?
I've watched bits and pieces of each one.
You know what? We'll take it.
I
was going to say, we need to.
have.
I just about asked you to leave. Like,
wait a second.
go.
Are you only watching the clips that I
so
put on
have
Twitter?
Have you
No, I've
subscribed?
watched.
Have you subscribed?
I do subscribe.
Did you give us 5 stars?
Always.
Have
Well,
you wrote a review?
No, I don't know how to read and write. You guys
Get
know
out.
that. You guys know I don't know how to read and write.
To be honest with you, I'm really disappointed right now, buddy.
It's okay.
I thought you
I-
would have at least
yeah.
given us a 5 out of 5, or even if you would
did.
have been the one guy who gave us a 4 out of 5.
No.
There's 2 now. Someone else gave us a 5 or 4.
You guys are bullying
Yeah.
me.
It's absolutely
Embarrassing.
ridiculous.
Embarrassing.
All right, anyway, keep it or clip it. Sport clip haircuts. Basically, I'll make a statement, Tommy, then you keep it or you clip it. If you like it or you don't, okay? Home of the MVP experience where it's good to be a guy. Sport clips haircuts. Question number 1. Statement number 1. Whatever. Elias Pettersson or Peterson, depending on who you talk to, will hit 100 points this season. Keep it or clip it.
What is he at right now?
It doesn't matter. No, but I think he's at 17 after last night.
17.
And and may I note, he's got 11 in his last 5.
Yeah, I'm going to say keep it. I'm going to say keep it.
gets 100
I think he
points?
gets 100. Well, you just think of how much they're going to utilize him there. Like, he's going to play in the power play all the time. He's a fun player to watch. Like, he for me is right up there for most exciting players to watch in the league, just because he's so slick. Like, just really, really shifty. Never really know what you're going to see. So yeah, I think he gets to 100. I'm going to keep it.
I'm clipping it.
Yeah, you don't think he gets there?
I love watching it. Like you said, Cass, like he's so impressive on so many different fronts. I love the way he shoots the puck.
He's a freak.
It's unbelievable. And I know he's bulked up a bit, but I think at some point he gets derailed by some sort of
You're calling an injury?
some sort of ailment.
My goodness.
Wear and tear.
He did a couple things last year where I watched and I was like, man, I don't know if anybody else even does that in the league. Like even the McDavids and the Draisaitl's and the whoever you want to say. Like he just like smart plays. Shifty guy. And to be honest with you had a contest with which player looks most like he's from an alien, like he's an alien. It would probably be Pettersson.
Well, he's probably like a cousin of the Sedins.
Oh, maybe that's what it is.
Ginger
Yeah.
aliens from
Yeah.
Sweden.
All right, so we got one keep it and one clip it there. This one will be interesting. Leon Draisaitl would be a 90-point guy even without Connor McDavid. Keep it or clip it. Careful what you say. Remember which market you work in.
Go ahead, Cass.
This is a long delay.
It is a long one because I'm trying to think because it depends on who he's playing with. I still think he needs some guys.
You said 90-point guy.
90-point guy
90-point
without
guy.
McDavid.
I'll clip it.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
You don't think he'd do it?
I'm gonna clip it. I think he's close. He pushes that like he's
Yeah.
right in that 80 to 90 points.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I'm
doesn't-
gonna clip it.
Yeah, like I don't think it's a bad thing to get a 15 or 20-point bump from playing with McDavid.
No.
You know, and that's what that might be, right?
And it takes a certain type of player to figure. I know we make the joke a fire hydrant could score 30, like the old Gretzky Glenn Saylor saying the fire hydrant could score 30 playing with Gretzky. And I know it's somewhat similar with McDavid, but you got to be able to read the things Connor's going to be able to do. And I think that's where Leon excels, is he understands and knows how to take advantage of what Connor's doing. So maybe that's where he does get that 10 to 15-point bump.
Maroon scored 27 with McDavid. I don't think. What do you
there
have?
you go.
What was his career high before that? Like 10 or 11 or something?
Exactly.
Yeah, he fit in well there. He was good. All right, keep it or clip it. Scary movies are great. You know, because it's Halloween. I thought I'd ask this question.
Is Ghostbusters a scary movie?
You know what? First time I watched Ghostbusters, I was very scared, Tom.
Keep it.
Yeah, I was 33 the first time I watched Ghostbusters, but it still scared the shit out of me.
Clip it. I don't understand. I do not understand why people like scary movies. Like, I'm going to go to a movie. I can't wait to be scared. Like, I'm going to be frightened for my life. Like, I can't wait to feel fear. Like,
I don't get it either, man. I don't watch
it's so
scary
dumb.
movies.
It's so dumb. Like, why do you like why? It does like, oh, I just like, it makes me feel like, no, it doesn't make you feel alive. It makes you feel scared for your life. Like, oh man.
Do you
it's
Oh.
guys
just
watch
dumb.
Ghost Adventures
No.
on Detour?
Why?
Because it's like dude bros going ghost hunting, and they give them gadgets that they have no idea how they actually work, and they try to explain it to you, and you're like, you have no idea what you're telling me right now. And
Says this guy. Like, you have to be watching the live stream right at that moment, but it was good.
I don't even know how to read and write. I just interpret hand signals.
I can't even tell you the last scary movie I watched. Like Blair Witch Project. And how long ago would that have been? 15 years?
1999.
20 years?
Yeah.
You know
I don't
what
watch
year
scary
it was
movies.
released?
Yeah, 99.
How do you know what year it's released?
I don't know.
That was the year I graduated high school.
I was in
I don't remember
junior
that
high.
in high school. I remember when Titanic came out.
1997.
Oh, yeah, I went to a movie and held a girl's hand. How cool is that?
We went on a field trip to see Titanic. in
Yeah, so did we.
7th grade.
So did we.
I did.
And that's why
Never seen it.
Oh,
you never saw Titanic.
It's another
in the
one of
bud?
those.
it's a
Well,
work of
yeah, hey,
fiction.
I won't say anything. I don't want to spoil it. All right,
The
next
ship
question.
sinks.
They're on a boat.
The Winnipeg Jets should just move on from Dustin Bufflin. Keep it or clip it.
Keep it. I mean, you got to think with this. He's done. I would have to assume.
I'll clip it because I'm holding out hope. They need help on defense.
I think you can get it somewhere else.
You wouldn't welcome him back?
I don't know if I would
You
welcome him
think
back.
that bond is broken? I'll go clip it.
Cash, you think the bond's broken? That's a good question, Tony.
I don't think it has anything to do with the bond. I think it has everything to do with Dustin Bufflin not wanting to play anymore.
No, but like for the guys in the room, like,
that
hey,
bond?
Buff's back again.
Nah,
Like,
I think everyone there and the guys that matter that have been around for a while, they're going to know his personality because he's been there for a while, and they're going to be like, yeah, I don't really expect anything less.
So they're just, man,
they're just kinda
you're
like,
not
man.
very high on Dustin Buffalo.
No, not high on it. I'm not high on him coming back. I'm high on him as a player. Like he's a phenomenal
When he's
player.
playing and he's healthy, he's really good.
A really good player, incredibly talented, but I just don't think he wants to come back.
Next question.
That could totally be fair, honestly. Just hearing,
that's
hearing
it.
these stories here.
Do your
and there
surgery
from-
and just retire and have a great life, man. He's made a lot of money.
Yeah.
He's won Stanley Cup. I mean, what
He's
else
had
does
some
he
injury
really need?
problems and he wants to be done.
Yeah, and that's fine, man. Nobody's
Totally
going to hold
fine.
that against him. Just make the decision. All right, full chocolate bars as a trick-or-treat candy on Halloween is overkill.
Oh,
It's
clip
a horrible
that.
question. Clip it.
Who thinks like that?
Well, I thought, being the fat guy on the podcast, I could be like, oh, that is overkill. And you guys are like, no, it's not.
That is such a bonus when you get a full bar.
No, but what if it was at every house?
That'd be amazing.
Fantastic.
Great.
It's not overkill? You're going to sit there and
No.
just crush full chocolate bars for a week?
Absolutely.
Oh, you guys are way different than I thought you were.
Where are you from? Siberia?
No, man, I'm from a guy who trick-or-treated in his double-wide trailer on his farm as a child, okay? Halloween sucked for me. Let's just move along. Next question.
Ouch.
This is a good one. Alexander Ovechkin's comments will be the turning point for the Leafs. Keep it or clip it.
Clip it. I still think it's going to take a galvanizing event.
Line brawl.
Line brawl. No, or something like that. It's going to take like something where everyone's going to get mad at something, and not like verbiage. Like something on the ice has to happen where everyone gets really upset and they pull together as a team. Then maybe
So,
it
like,
turns around.
another team has to have a cheap shot on one of them?
Yeah, and everyone has to stand up and everyone has to
So if you're
has to be a
playing...
really emotional moment.
If you're playing the Leafs, would you just try to go through the motions to keep them emotionally disconnected from the game?
you would probably talk about that. Like
You would then, okay.
yeah, or you try to make it too emotional and over challenge them. I don't know, but I just think something needs to happen, and I don't think it's going to be the comments that do it.
Yeah, clip it. I think the Leafs are so nonchalant about things that, they need something to rock them to the core. I agree with our post-game analyst and pre-game analyst, Matt Cassian.
I don't know if Babcock makes it through the season, but let's just save that. That's just a quick
His
comment.
comments are kind of...
Yeah, and look, man,
it's
for
like-
Babcock, it's not like he's going to be out of work for a long time.
No.
Like, this isn't like, oh, it's my last crack at the National Hockey League. As long as Mike Commodore isn't running a team somewhere, he's going to get another gig.
Do you know Mike Commodore?
Yeah.
He's a pretty funny guy.
He's really funny.
I think we're going to try to get him on at some point.
You should.
Yeah, he'd be funny. All right, here we are. Carey Price is a top 3 goalie in the NHL. Keep it or clip it.
I think
You're clipping it.
I don't think he is anymore.
I still think he is. But I'm not answering these questions, so sorry about that.
I'm gonna keep it. I think he still is. I think he still needs a better defense and team in front of him.
Well, Weber and Petrie aren't bad. And they're on different
It's
pairs.
two guys, yeah.
But I would agree.
Team-
I think he
just
still
team as
deals
a
with
whole.
a little bit of a heavy workload.
Yeah.
I like him, though. All right, final question for Keep It or Clip It. Putting up Halloween decorations on October 1st is way too early. Keep it or clip it.
I saw eggnog today at the grocery store, so clip it.
Hey man, I clip it, but I put up my Christmas lights like a week ago.
What?
Why?
I hate eager
Have
guys
you
like
seen our weather outside?
It's great.
Yeah, exactly. And so if I wait like 2 or 3 weeks and wait
Yeah.
and there's gonna be snow all of a sudden, and then I'm outside in the snow doing that, like no one wants to do that. I'm like, I'm gonna put them up now, and I'm gonna be smart, so I don't have to be on a ladder in the middle of winter.
I'll ask you this: are you turning them on now?
My daughter asks for me to turn them on.
Oh, we need to
when
have a
she wakes
talk
up in
with
the
her.
morning.
God
She's
bless
just like, Daddy, you turn on the Christmas lights? And so I'll be like, sure, sweetie, I'll turn on the Christmas lights.
So you have to do that for the next 2 months?
Yeah.
When does your tree go up? Next week? It's already up, isn't it?
I don't feel like I've accomplished anything if I don't put up my Christmas lights when it's minus 25 and the ladder's on ice. And there's like when I go out to put on the Christmas lights, I say to my wife, I'm like, hey, there's a 15% chance I die today. So it's been a good run. Use my insurance on a great Christmas for the family.
Yeah.
That's basically what it is.
Take them to Mexico with Gager.
I keep waiting for her. I'm at the garage and I keep waiting for her to peek around the corner with a stick, pushing the ladder, being like,
no.
"All right, here we go."
This is it.
But no. But when did you put up your Halloween decorations? At?
We don't have any. Christmas lights are out, man. I'm not like. Listen, I'm not
You
a.
didn't put a pumpkin out front with the kids. Like,
No,
well,
I'm
this
not a
is-
big. Like, I'm not a big Halloween guy.
Well, obviously,
You're
I saw your
My
costume.
costume there. How much effort I put into it.
Your costume only has 2 holes left.
I don't know what. I was looking for it and I can't find it.
All right. Okay. Well, Tommy, what about you? You put up any Halloween?
Well, I live in a condo, so
Yeah.
it's irrelevant. But we do have, I will say, we do have a door decorating contest, which I want no part in.
What?
Yeah.
So
What am I
everybody,
gonna
like,
do?
does everybody go crazy on their doors?
Well,
There's a bunch of people
how
that-
could you not decorate? What do you mean you don't decorate your door for
Wait a
Halloween?
second. This is way different. He's in an apartment complex with a door. You have kids and a house.
Will I go and take some candy from the office when I get home after this? Absolutely. That's me
that's
getting
nice.
into the spirit. Look at how I dressed today. I'm wearing
Look how
shorty
I
pants.
dressed today. I'm wearing
Yeah, you look
Yeah,
good.
you-
normal clothes
yeah.
and
You look good too.
paper circles.
No, there will be no door decoration for me.
All right. Well, we left ours way too late. We couldn't even find a pumpkin to carve for the kids. I feel like a horrible.
Why are you horrible
Well, I know,
Halloween
hey,
decorations?
We decorated nicely for Halloween, but I couldn't find a pumpkin because there's like some sort of crazy pumpkin shortage this year. It's not my fault.
Well, you should have planned ahead.
Well, that's true, Cass. I should have
is
planned.
I was
that.
planning
I like
ahead for
this.
Christmas.
Yeah.
When Gager's not back, can you guys invite me back if Belzy's unavailable? Because I'm enjoying this. A
Yeah,
lot.
if we can't find Gage or Bell or someone else, then we'll give you a call. No, thanks,
take
sorry.
it.
We better
Took a
see a
second for that
comment.
to-
We better see a comment on our comment page there, Tom.
Yeah.
If you want to come back.
Yeah.
A
We've all
positive
done
one.
it.
Yeah.
We've all done it.
Gager's commented about 5 times. Cass commented once. You just have to, basically all you have to do is sign up and then say, hey, wow, Tom looked great today.
Has he been working out?
You'll fit in perfectly. That'll be good. All right, so that's going to do it for episode 13. Oh, we didn't even talk. Episode
we got the name.
13
We got
on
the name.
Halloween. No, we got the name, but we like how scary is that?
It's pretty scary.
But you're not even a Halloween guy, so no, exactly. All right, that's going to do it. Episode 13, No Gingers. That was great. Tommy, thanks for coming, bud.
Thanks for having me.
Gager might be back on Monday if they let him back into the country. For Hernan Salas and Matt Cassian, the 3-hole punch mat. And
Twiggy Munson,
Twiggy
saddest
Munson.
eyes in the league.
I am Teen Wolf saying thank you very much for listening to episode 13 of Two Guys and a Goalie, presented by Odd Shark, Popeye's Chicken, and our friends at Sport Clips Haircuts. We'll be back on Monday with a new episode. Thanks for listening.